You studied the psychology of penalty taking.
The key thing for a penalty taker, just in case anyone's got football this weekend.
I decide where I'm going.
Football can teach the world sales. Yeah. There you go. That's the biggest predictor for success in business, in industry, finance, wealth. And you might go into that job with good intention, and then you find your soul slowly being destroyed week after week after week.
I suffer from anxiety.
Yeah, I disagree. So if this room's on fire, you and I can't get out, we shouldn't be happy.
we should be pretty anxious. Yeah. Guilty as charged for it. Never had a hangover in my life.
My goodness, whatever you have, I want some of that. Once again, you and I meet, and I really like you. The other way around might be, but I suck the life out of you. Don't look forward to seeing you.
Yeah, but it's not being Elon Musk that people want.
Yeah, I think it is. What a great question.
Let's analyse Elon Musk for a second.
Okay.
What has he got? If evolution has taught us anything about human beings, it is this: they are capable of remarkable things, which means you are capable of remarkable things. And especially when you set yourself meaningful goals and have got a purpose. Curiosity drives passion, and passion drives purpose, and purpose creates autonomy like never before. Today, you and I are going to interview Richard Porter. Who is Richard Porter? Well, he's an unassuming man, a gentleman. He's got wisdom on human behaviour and achievement very few people have got on this planet. So, without further ado, enjoy every single minute, take notes, and let's do this together.
I spent my life in a big hospital in southwest London where I joined in 2001, and I started fixing people there. And I treat the very ill, the very injured, the people close to death. And then I started teaching other people how to do it better. I got into education. I got into helping individuals become the best surgical version of themselves they could be. I got tired of that and realised that the NHS isn't a health service, it's a disease service, and we moved into prevention. And that led us to exploring psychology, personal development, and my company was set up, and we work alongside Kirk and people who you know well, trying to get people into a position where they become the best version of themselves. So rather than someone getting disease and getting fixed, we prevent it. And so my area of
prevention is the best cure.
Well, do you know, not just the best cure, it's so far ahead of the best cure that, and if you ask any individual, do you want to get sick and get fixed, or do you just not want to get sick in the first place? So we look at preventative medicine. My big thing is preventative medicine, preventative health, living healthily, becoming all you can be. And that's what I've spent my life doing.
You studied the psychology of penalty taking.
I did, because you can actually look at who misses, who doesn't miss. And my massive area of passion is personality science. And by personality science, I do mean that your personality, which is not fixed, can be changed, affects your health, affects your life. It's probably the biggest determinant in your life. And so in studying personality psychology, as an aside, we looked at, there's a bunch of scientific papers looking at penalties. And actually, the key thing for a penalty taker, just in case anyone's got football this weekend, is decide where the ball's going to go before you put it down. So if you think, right, I've practiced my penalties, top left-hand corner, commit to that, do not change your mind. If you go up to the ball with any doubt, the chance of missing goes up by like a third to two-thirds.
Do you know what? Can that be transferred into other walks of life?
Definitely.
I did an interview with an amazing man called Luke Murphy,
right? And
he's got Parkinson's. He's had so many struggles, but yeah, he's been so successful. And he shared a point. He says, when I walk into a building as a salesperson, I decide where I'm going, who I'm going to speak to, and I go. Just literally decide where you're going, straight there. Yeah. Just go in one straight line.
Yeah.
So make the decision before he gets through the rolling door or the door. I'm going there.
Yeah.
So, which is exactly the same as what you just kind of said there, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, it is. And do you know, I've heard Brad Sugars talk, and you know, and said many, many wise words. And it has to be worded very carefully, this. But one of the things that he said is you mustn't underestimate how needful people are to be led. Now, people might be offended by that because they think, well, I don't want to be led around by the nose, but that's not what he's talking about. What we like is people who make us feel safe with decisions and say, this is a way you could go. And so when he walks in decisively, the guy you admire so much, and walks up to someone and just leads the conversation, people don't mind that because it's how you do it. And it actually builds rapport.
Yeah.
We like that because it's you can put trust in people like that. Like their intention is clear, there's no deceit. Like the reason humans have whites around our eyes is so we can see what our intention is, where our attention is. And we can see that in each other. So he would have walked in, eye contact, straight up, and they would have thought, this person is focusing on me.
Yeah.
Not aggression.
It's clear.
Just build a relationship. That's what it's all all about.
So there you go, some decision making.
So there you go. Football can teach the world sales. There you go.
I might go to that leadership in a minute, being led and all this kind of thing. Let's go to the personality.
Okay.
So thoughts on this. So I could stand to be corrected here.
Okay, mate.
So thoughts trigger emotions.
Yes.
And emotions trigger thoughts. There's a cycle going on.
Yeah.
So thought can trigger emotion. Emotion hangs around long enough for a few days, it can turn into a mood.
Definitely.
So
and it can turn into self-perception. So the personality, from if I go a little nerdy, there's a personality model which is reproducible, replicable. The key things in science are something is reproducible, replicable, and you can test it in different cultures, languages, age groups, all sorts. And for personality science, we call that the Big Five. And the Big Five has 5 characteristics, traits, which you can measure. And the one of negative emotion, we talked about negative emotion, is labeled, perhaps wrongly, but it's labeled the word neuroticism.
Right.
And if you think of someone's natural ambition and industriousness and how organized and driven they are, we call that conscientiousness. So that's just 2, conscientiousness and neuroticism. If you
the industriousness and drive is conscientious.
Yeah, so and you can measure these things. So if you measure conscientiousness and marry it up with something like IQ, that's the biggest predictor for success in business, in industry, finance, wealth, that you can have in terms of measurements. You can measure IQ and conscientiousness. So if someone says, like, I want to do well, I want to be a winner in this game, you can measure their conscientiousness. I mean, you know it already because you can see the results. But
we're saying a winner is in business someone that's earning the most, or
if that's what they want,
But I mean, of course, there's many ways to win, and success can mean a lot of different things.
For sure, it definitely can. And when someone's moving towards their personal goals, if they're working a well-paid job they can't stand, and what they actually want to do is make jam and live in the countryside with 2 kids and a white picket fence,
you're not happy.
You're not happy. That's the goal thing. But you can migrate your conscientiousness up. Now, when it becomes self-fulfilling, and let's say you're in a dead-end job you hate, you're going to be using push motivation to get to work. You don't feel that passion. You're not terribly curious. You
push yourself.
And you might go into that job with good intentions, and you think, well, this is a job for me. I'm going to kill it. And then you find your soul slowly being destroyed week after week after week. And then someone can ask you again, like, are you a hard worker? And you're like, no, I don't really like hard work. And it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. Because you do inherit your personality. It probably comes from your parents, your upbringing, about 50%. But then in your environment, you have agency over. And so that's why everyone, ideally, should live a life with their sense of purpose, their goals.
Which is going to affect your personality more than anything else?
It is. And you mentioned earlier on, negative emotion, that neuroticism, that most people don't want to be happy. They just don't want to suffer. And so taking someone's neuroticism scores and migrating them is the number one request we get when we're helping people. They're like, I'm too anxious, I don't sleep well, I'm worried all the time, something bad happened, as you said, and it became self-fulfilling and it's become my mood.
What's the best cure for anxiety?
So I'm going to challenge that slightly, mate, because anxiety is a good thing in moderation.
So I'm glad you said that, because what do you think of this comment? I suffer from anxiety.
Yeah, I disagree.
Because
So
everyone's got anxiety.
So you can measure it, and about 5% of the population suffer the experience of anxiety so much that it detracts from their life. You shouldn't be happy. We shouldn't be happy. We should feel happy commensurate with our current circumstances. So if this room's on fire and you and I can't get out,
Yeah.
we shouldn't be happy. We should
be pretty anxious.
Yeah, we should. We should.
It's a natural emotion. Yeah.
Am I going to follow you out? Yeah, so it is natural, but we've medicalized it. And I do think there's an element of society where if you feel negative emotion, people can think, I shouldn't be feeling that. I must have a sickness. I'll go to the doctor and I'll get a tablet. Whereas actually what you should probably think about is that personal development and your circumstances, and try and get some agency to improve them. You're probably not ill. You're probably justified in feeling how you're feeling.
Yeah, and I've been trained relaxation techniques. I've been trained on how to cope with anxiety. I've studied the stuff as well. I mean, not to your degree.
No, I think you have.
Yeah. So it's always more challenging when you're with someone that's not got your experience, and when you and they've not got your understanding and strategies or methodologies or techniques of being able to deal with pressure or anxiety. Yeah. Because they can't relate to that, and it's like a skill that you develop.
I think you put it so beautifully, and equally you do inherit. So anxiety isn't neuroticism. If you're sensitive to negative emotion, you can score it from 0 to 100. And if you do have higher scores in neuroticism, you are more likely to experience anxiety. So it's going to be more frequent, perhaps more long lasting. So people can migrate that neuroticism down.
Yes.
And a lot of people want us to. But if you've got a innate level of anxiety and it's all you've ever known, you're like a fish being asked, where's the water? You don't even know it's there. That's just what life is. So if you meet someone whose neuroticism score is high, they're anxious, you say, do you feel anxious? They don't compare it to you. They compare it to how they felt yesterday, which was the same. And so they say, no, I'm not, I'm fine. But actually they're not, they're just normal, but throughout life. So to answer your question a little more clearly, are there techniques to make us less susceptible? Definitely. Is there published scientific evidence to make us more clear on reducing our neuroticism, our sensitivity to negative emotion? Definitely. And so demonstrable ones, there's things you can actually measure. So something we can measure in you and me or anyone is our hand grip strength. And as it goes up, exactly. As it goes up,
I've got a feeling that yours is going to be tighter.
I don't know. It's not bad. It's not bad. It's all right. It's all right.
It's got some serious muscles.
Oh, it's all right. But as your hand grip strength goes up, it's scientifically reproducible that neuroticism goes down. And
really,
I can send you the paper.
So it's part of release. It's like, oh.
So it's physical training. It's physical health, physical wellness, and physical strength. So lean muscle mass. And the studies do show it's beneficial in men and women.
Well, it's been proven for decades, hasn't it? Exercise improves with positive mood states and decreases negative at the same time.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I don't think it is just you do this to your body and you feel good about it. I think your whole physiology, all of your brain, all of your body, all of your gut biome are all linked. They're all linked. The whole thing. You can't improve one thing without improving everything. So that's one aspect.
Well, that's nature. Everything is linked to everything else.
It is 100%. 100%. How you feel, your gut biome, your neural connections, muscles and nutrient sensing.
Well, going to the gym it's almost like you get a dopamine hit afterwards, because you've done good.
You do,
and that's psychological. But you can feel it.
You can,
and you get the opposite, guilty as charged, folks, when you go to McDonald's.
Definitely.
Because oh God, yeah.
Definitely.
I know I've not put exactly the best stuff inside.
And I haven't had a drink in a long time. But if you spend a day with a hangover, eating rubbish, no one looks back on that day and feels proud. Like, not deeply internally proud.
I've drank a lot, but I've never had a hangover in my life.
Have you not?
Never. I've never had a headache.
My goodness, whatever you have, I want some of that.
I don't know why.
That I'm never going to have a hangover again, but that's amazing. That's amazing.
Don't know why I've never had one, but my head's never ached.
Yeah, well, that's good, because it's a level of pain I would never want to experience again, and I wouldn't wish it on anyone at all.
Whoa, let's come back. So we've got like a, I don't know, transition or here. It's going to finish on personality, thoughts. That trigger emotions.
Yes.
Of course, there's a loop that goes on. Emotions hang around. If the emotion is anxiety, hang around. Like, it can affect your mood. You can be an anxious type person. If that mood hangs around for, let's say, weeks, even months, it begins to change your temperament.
It does. And how you're perceived. So it changes your behavior.
Yeah.
So then people react to you differently. you and I know when we meet a stressy person, when we meet a really relaxed person, and
yeah, you do.
And so
they look tense.
They do. And my curiosity in personality psychology really came from listening to Daniel Goleman, who, you know, the father of emotional stroke social intelligence. And I think the first lesson he taught was, when two people meet, you exchange energy. So you and I meet, and we exchange energy, and the exchange rate will be positive or negative, and it will have a ratio. So if I give 1 unit of Richard Porter to you, and you really like me, it'll feel like 3 to you.
Yeah.
And so you've got 3 extra units of energy just from nowhere, like free. It's just a beautiful, amazing thing. So you give 2 back to me, and I really like you, mate. I really like you. So this feels like 8. So that means when I'm coming to see you, I'm excited. I'm excited because I know I'm coming to see you. And the other way around might be that I really like you, and it feels like 8, but I suck the life out of you through these sense of negative emotions I take from you. And I only need to take 0.01, minus 0.1, and you don't look forward to seeing me.
Yeah, and switch off.
Yeah. And people if it's negative, it's...
But I think all people have got that reality that you've just kind of mathematically said to us happening to them.
Yeah, they have.
I think everyone's got these people in their lives.
It's well, definitely. And I think the challenge for people is when you've got someone you love who's negative. So you might have, you know...
How do you deal with that?
It's well...
There's not enough.
If you love... I mean, I speak from experience of people I love, family, who I dread sometimes interacting with, you know, but I love them. So I always will. And there is a burden in life to carry sometimes. So I will carry that burden with love in my heart. There's no doubt.
Exercise patience, compassion.
Yeah, exactly. Build your own emotional bank. Build enough self-esteem. Build enough positive energy. I want everyone, my dream, everyone is excited for tomorrow. Everyone, the person you love most isn't you, it's future you. So if you've created that vision of your future, you should be like massively excited for it. I love
that. The person that you love the most isn't you.
No, not you now.
Future you.
Future you. You should be deeply in love with future you.
Is your future as bright as you want to make it?
Yes, I mean, I do. Yeah, I think it is. What a great question. I think anyone can build the future they want. They just have to be really crystal clear, deeply honest on what it looks like. And once they've worked out what it's looked like, you can make a plan. But the key part of the plan isn't what you do, it's who you have to be. That's personality science.
Yes.
It's because whoever you are is going to do the actions. So it's not the actions, it's who you have to be to do the actions. And so you can have almost any future you want. You know, I'm not saying we can all be Elon Musk. We can all be Michael Jordan. We can all do Usain Bolt. Of course not.
Yeah, but it's not being Elon Musk that people want, is it? It's probably having some of the stuff that he's got that people want. But there's plenty of ways that you can be now to achieve certain things.
Definitely. And I think you can look at Elon Musk and think, well, actually what he's got and what he's achieved, there's some things I don't like, but these bits I do like, I can emulate that, and I might not get there, but I get to make progress towards it every single day. And every bit of progress feels great.
Let's analyse Elon Musk for a second.
Okay.
In a naive way.
Yeah.
What has he got? What if he's got it, what is it?
So well, do you know, I think we said it earlier on, I think he does have a spectacular IQ.
Yeah.
I think he had a very difficult childhood. I think a lot of the information about him inheriting emerald mines and things like that are fake. I think he
had the industriousness, the ambition,
exactly
the conscientiousness.
He has extraordinarily high conscientiousness, and he's deeply socially intelligent. So he can be extremely charming and utterly ruthless. He knows when to turn it on and off, combined with his relentless work ethic, just superb drive. And one of the other aspects of personality is optimism, pessimism. And he believes it's going to happen. He's very optimistic. And you can learn optimism. You can teach yourself optimism.
There's a book called Learned Optimism.
Yeah, Mark and Seligman.
What a book it is. I mean, it just gives you questionnaire after questionnaire to understand yourself on a deeper level.
Absolutely. And there are other books that you can look at the world.
Learned helplessness is the opposite of that.
Yeah.
It's a big thing.
It's a real problem. It's that determined victim.
Right. So, wonder what you think about this, because I've made it up. So, the pandemic, as we all know it, is COVID. There's a bigger pandemic than that.
Yes.
Much bigger.
I agree.
The biggest pandemic on the planet. When we cure this, you watch evolution take place. Self-sabotage.
Yeah, I agree.
Is that the biggest pandemic?
I agree.
I'm so pleased that you agree, by the way, because I just believe in everything you're saying here today. You sat there and you got me.
No, well, I'm thinking the same about you, to be honest. And, you know, the fact we've read so many of the similar books is just incredible, and it's awesome, and I'm massively impressed by it. But so the self-sabotage comes back to the question: why are you about to do what you're about to do? Why are you not about to do what you're about to do? So let's bring it back to Elon. He wants to get to Mars. He says he wants to die on Mars. Now, people concentrate on the die. He doesn't. He wants to get to Mars and live on Mars, grow old on Mars. So
he's just super focused on the goal, isn't he?
He just says, whatever decision I make, does it get me closer or further away from Mars? So I'll bring it to, if you don't, I'll make it all about me. For me, every decision I can make is my purpose primarily. I have two sons. Does what I'm about to do make their life better or worse? And every decision becomes anxiety-free.
You know that question? There's a book, they wrote a book on this, the British rowing team. Will it make the boat go faster?
Yeah.
They're getting all these ideas from all these sports scientists. We're going to win the goal. We've got all these ideas to win.
Yeah.
And they had to have a question to filter everything else out.
Yeah.
And they came up with that question: Will this make
the boat
go faster?
And that's all that matters. So if people can find that mission, find that value, fall in love with the future self that's living that life.
Do you have to fall in love with yourself now before you fall in love with your future self?
I think you should fall in love with the bits of you that are okay now, but if you are a determined victim and you continuously self-sabotage, I think you should ruthlessly cut that person out of your life.
Right. So, because what we're talking about is creating a new identity.
You are.
But before you can create a new identity, you've got to break this identity.
Yeah, and old habits die hard.
Well, creating is a different skill to breaking.
It is.
And that you've got to be able to break things down, because there might be some parts of you now that you're okay with. Yeah. Your words, you said I'm okay with this. There might be some bits I'm going to keep this, I'm going to keep this.
Yeah.
And in being okay with it, I mean, I'm using my language here, and I'm learning from you as we go in here. I want to fall in love with these two. I want my self-esteem to build. I want my self-efficacy to build.
Yeah.
I want to feel my self-image and my self-confidence and belief that are all connected to one another. I've got to hook onto what's special about me.
Yeah.
Do you know Bob Rotella?
Yeah, I know the name. Don't know
Bob Rotella. He wrote many books on golf. He's won 62 majors in golf.
Wow.
As a coach.
Okay.
So he's coached the best. Tiger Woods, Seve Ballesteros, the whole lot.
Amazing.
And he taught me this. He says, look, you want people to develop self-esteem and confidence. He does this. This is the first thing he does with the Tiger Woods and all this on the planet. He says, make a list of everything that's special about you.
Yeah.
Come back when you got the list. Make the list. Then fall in love with it.
Yeah, okay.
And then he says, what's your stuff? You know, like me interviewing you, and but your stuff is getting the best, getting into a flow state, all of it. This is your stuff. He says, make a list of all your stuff and fall in love with it.
Yeah.
Because if you don't love your stuff being the word, and then he said the third one is, what's your purpose?
Okay.
Which is where you started with the meaningful goals. Answer those questions, and you can wake up in the morning with a skip in your step, excited about your future self type thing. So that was Bob Rotella.
Yeah, well, that makes an awful lot of sense. And I think some of the contradictions people face when they look at great advice, because I think that story you just told is amazing, is then it's balanced out with self-acceptance. And, that's very popular at the moment. People say, self-acceptance. And yeah, I think you should accept the bits of you that you love, but don't just take the whole package. If you're very into, if you and I woke up every morning and said, what's the best thing we could do today? Well, does it help my sons or not if I drink a bottle of vodka and spend the day hungover and eating Krispy Kremes? Self-acceptance, it does not apply. That should not be what we're looking for. And when you mention self-esteem, your subconscious is always watching. It always watches to know if you've gone through on what you said you were going to do.
Can't kid yourself.
You can't kid yourself. And Nietzsche said, I'm not upset that you lied to me. I'm upset that I can't believe you anymore. And that's where this self-sabotaging internally comes from. Because you think, it becomes part of your consciousness and, your self-belief. I'm not a reliable person.
Yeah.
I was going to go to the gym all for the last 3 months, and I just thought, I can't be bothered. I'm going to watch Love Island.
It's a double-edged sword, that acceptance thing. Because you look at resilience. Resilience, the ability to overcome adversity.
Yeah.
Let's just say it's that. If problems happen, I've got to be resilient. When you fight the problem, like you almost deny it or you get angry about it, that's the opposite of resilience.
Yeah.
Accepting that's happened is the key to getting over it very quickly. So what does some of the greats say? What you hold on to holds on to you. Mm-hmm. And the only pain in life is resisting what is.
Yeah.
I mean, is acceptance a required trait of high performance?
Yes.
The connotations of the word are twofold, though, in the way that we're talking.
They are, and the Buddha said life is suffering, and he meant that the actual word was dukkha, and that means there is an element of dissatisfaction. There's an element of dissatisfaction, which means you and I, if you go for 100% self-acceptance and you love yourself adoringly no matter what, then you're insisting on not experiencing any dissatisfaction. And if you and I go on this personal development journey forever, we still don't get to the end point. You just get to enjoy that journey. And the mental resilience part that you're talking about there, I think comes, it feeds into that, because you will become mentally resilient when you accept that there are going to be negatives. Life will give you challenges.
Well, that's the way of the world.
It is. And I would ask people to think about reframing that as there are good days, and there are hard days. There are no bad days. Okay, maybe your last day is a bad day, but I work in a hospital. I see many people on their last day or about to have their last day. And if you could look at the weather today and say it's a rainy day and work...
Can we just tell the audience exactly what you do on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah, so I've spent 20 years working in a big London teaching hospital, and my primary role is to plan beforehand, during, and take care of afterwards patients with head and neck cancers and severe head and neck facial traumas, and then try and put them back together afterwards. So it's life or death, big facial disfiguration, and I'm part of a big broad team of surgeons and dietitians and speech and language therapists, and our amazing, it's International Nurses Day today, so hooray to all our amazing nurses. And so I spend a lot of my time doing that. I've just come from the hospital today.
I bet your team love working for you.
I hope so. I do. Again, I'll bring it back to Brad Sugars, actually. He talks about leading, and he talked about you have to push. And so there's a bit of push, and determined victims don't like being pushed. Nothing's their fault. And when someone else's life is on the line, that's not good enough. You're going to have to up your game, because if you're on the table, then you need the best.
How about that for a line, though? Because I'm always looking for bits, like someone else's life's on the line. Yeah, but that's not my situation now. But what's transferable is what you just said. That's not good enough.
No, it's not.
And that can be applied in any situation if you want it to, if you choose it to, yes?
Yeah.
Is that about setting standards?
Well, what a beautiful question, mate. You're very good at this. If you're trying to describe identity to people, because I think that people hear that word and they don't know what it means a lot. Like they couldn't put a gun to their head and say, define identity, and they don't know what it means. So one of the ways you can define it is the minimum standards you will accept in life. And whatever your minimum standards are,
beautiful,
that is going to be your identity. I will not accept less than that.
Interesting, that. I'm just saving it in the right-hand side of my brain as we speak.
Okay.
Yeah, I've always gone with describe yourself in 5 words.
Yeah.
And that might be a naive way of doing it compared to yours. I've never done it in that way, but I will certainly be considering doing that moving forward. But I've always found that, and then doing a check.
Yeah.
What would your wife say in 5 words about you?
That's very close to the mark. But I do, if you can find loving critics. So if you and I have known each other for many years, and like your wins are my wins. You win the lottery, I'm thrilled. You do have a wonderful life. I couldn't wish for anything more. Those are the people you want to take advice from and say, how can I be better than I am?
They're not jealous. They're not. There's no spite.
No ulterior motive. Nothing else that.
And you know who them people are.
For sure, because they sabotage. I tell you when you know where they are, because when you do start going to the gym, they say, "Oh, you're training too much." What, me getting healthier somehow upsets you? How could that be? Whereas they're much more likely to say, "My God, you're so good at what you're doing. Your consistency, your drive. I love seeing you healthy.
Well,
can you help me?"
Those people are naturally praising growth type behavior. It's the opposite of fixed mindset. If you go with that, and they're offering recognition to you there at the same time.
Yeah, they are.
So,
and they also aren't feeling negative emotion at your positive event. So the mirror of you isn't making them feel bad. You know, it's not like your wins make them feel
I
like
think
a
that
loss.
makes you. I think what you said earlier on about that equation of giving energy. When someone's like that with you genuinely, I think it gives you energy.
Yeah.
You know it.
Oh, for sure. And those are the people Jim Rohn's, the average of the 5 people you want to be, you spend most time with. And I'll throw a name out there to a guy called Robin Dunbar, who has a thing called Dunbar's number, and it's how many people you associate with, and it's 5, 15, 50, 150.
Okay.
In your sort of circles, you've got your 5 close people most of your time, 15, a bit more
deliberate who you choose. Wow.
And those 5 are extremely powerful. And if they're all positive, you really won the friend lottery on life. And we ask people to do audits, like what do they bring to you? I would add in one of those 5. One of those 5 has to be your future self.
Okay. You can choose any 5 from history, past people.
Oh, mate.
Who are your 5? Who are the 5?
Do you know,
Jim Rohn, he's got to be one of them.
Yeah, I think he would be Jim Rohn. I would get some characters in there, though, as well. I'd probably want Jimi Hendrix in there.
What about... Oh, yeah, Jimi Hendrix.
But that's probably some form of self-sabotage. But you could say, what did you do last Friday night? Oh, I just went out.
No, but it wasn't the Jimi Hendrix. It's the superstar. It's the get a bit of something fun in there.
I mean, from an intellectual point of view, there's a psychologist who I think he died, Amos Tversky.
Right.
And Amos Tversky was the intellectual partner at the time for Daniel Kahneman, who's still alive and arguably the world's preeminent psychologist
in his area. Yeah.
And those two and what they achieved together. Achieving the Nobel Prize in Economics. So you're a psychologist and you win the Nobel Prize in Economics on framing and anchoring, and just the work those two produced when those two minds came together is just stunning to see. So, and there's a great thing because Amos was first name terms. The people would say when you met Amos Tversky, you could work out how smart you were by how long it took you to realize you were dumber than him. He was that smart, and so I'd like to meet him. Him and Hendrix, I'm sure they get on really, really well. Jim Rohn, definitely. I probably would add Elon Musk in there. I do think he's pioneering.
Well, you can't deny what is achieved, can you? Is that 4 now?
That's 4. Can I come back to you on the 5th?
Yeah, of course you can.
I'll put my subconscious to it at the back of my mind.
Yeah, just let your subconscious, just plant a nice seed, let it grow back there.
Yeah, something like that.
You know what my dad said to me about the subconscious? He says, you know what your subconscious is, James? It's the most powerful thing on the planet.
It is.
It's the only reason you're alive right now.
Yeah.
You know what it is? It's the most fertile ground that exists.
Wow. I think your dad just became my 5th.
Right. He says it's the most fertile land on the planet. So imagine the most fertile land that there is. And you think, this is what I was thinking. I was thinking richness of soil. I was thinking sort of Cotswold sort of meadows type thing. And he says, whatever you plant back there, it will grow. Whatever you plant back there, it will grow. So just be careful of what you plant back there, because it's the most fertile land. It will grow so big.
Yeah.
So have you Jack in a beanstalk?
Yeah.
So my image is like, you plant a little seed, beanstalks are growing.
Yeah.
Giants.
Yeah.
There's a movie called Moana.
Yeah, I know.
Have you seen it?
I have.
Oh, beautiful. So the Tafiti, at the end, she's all black. She's this fire monster because someone stole her heart.
Yeah, yeah.
And then they plug her heart back in.
That's
and
right.
She turns from black with all this darkness has been growing because
It's
that's
like
been
Eden.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it just,
Yeah.
and it turns like that. It says, that's what your subconscious is. And from that day, I've just felt so differently about it.
I love that. I love that. So if I'm ever trying to describe to somebody who isn't even aware that the subconscious is basically in charge of their life,
Yeah.
is that I use the example. So maybe this will be my fifth, actually. If Scarlett Johansson walks in the room,
Okay.
I'm attracted to her. I didn't choose it. I didn't choose to be attracted. You just suddenly experience attraction. It just hits you. Now, you could try and build a wedge into that mindfulness gap if you want. Think, well, let's not behave like a complete fool. Yeah, the Black Widow just walked in the room. But that's what it is. And then people say, well, can you influence it? Is it there all the time? And I say, well, do you dream? Because it's not your conscious mind at night when you're in sleep. It is your subconscious mind that's making you dream. It's active all the time. And Daniel Kahneman's book, Thinking Fast, Thinking Slow, your subconscious works so much faster than you and I could even perceive of. Millions of inputs a second. And we react to it.
Yeah.
However we react to it best. And the mindfulness gap is to seeing that subconscious reaction and trying to create a little wedge, if you can. Trying to create it.
Trying.
All
right, so let's just come back for a second. I want to ask you something else that's just triggered another thought. So we've got thoughts trigger emotions, emotions trigger moods hang around for enough. They start to affect your temperament, you're saying, and your perception outside. And your temperaments and your behaviours, they stick around long enough and they start to impact, or this is a negative word, potentially, infect your personality.
Definitely. They do. It becomes self-fulfilling. And so we call this the algorithm of life, and the algorithm of life is that you have these values in your heart.
Yeah.
They become your thoughts. They become manifest in your behaviors and your actions. Now, you're one person and I'm one person, and our experience of our entire life is largely determined by the other 8 billion people. Those 8 billion people will only behave towards you based on what they perceive in your actions. So if you don't like what the 8 billion are doing, it starts inside your own heart. It's why you have to come back there. So what you and I can do is say, well, if you've got this, you've gone heart values, thoughts, behaviors, it starts to infect your personality. If it's not working for you, let's have a look at your self-awareness. Let's take some measurements, which you can do with your loving critics, or you can do it scientifically. And let's see what kind of a person you are. Let's see what your exchange rate is for social energy. When people see you, do they think, I don't want to let that person go? I wonder if I can text them and say, can we have another coffee? Or do they think, I don't want to see that person again? If you're looking at sales, I buy from people I like. I work with a lot of salesmen.
Yeah.
And the salesmen I let into my company to sell their products via my company are ones I know everyone's going to like. And they kill it. They kill it because they're liked. And it's how are they liked? Because of their actions and behaviors.
Yeah.
Where did that come from? Mostly their subconscious, looking inside their heart. That's where it all starts.
Have you heard of superconscious?
I have.
I don't know what it is, though. I've not studied it myself. So
I mean, there's the super ego, isn't there? You know, all the Freudian ideas, ego, id, and super ego. But superconscious, I wonder if that is when you're, I don't know, I'm guessing.
Elon Musk, maybe he's got it.
He's certainly got something. He's certainly got some push.
One other thing, I'll mention this on leadership, then I've got some quick fire questions for you. Leadership. So, a gentleman named Mark Borden is the world #1 body language, non-verbal communicator trainer. And he studied leaders and what makes people followable.
Yeah.
Which is a leader,
Yeah,
people want to follow them.
Yeah.
And he says it's this. #1, they've made a choice. What kind of leader they are, what they stand for, whatever it is.
Yeah.
So they've made a choice. This is what I stand for. This is how I behave and act. #2, they go bigger on that. That's all about the super. That's all they do.
Love it.
They just go, they amplify it. And if communication or emotional intelligence that you've alluded to many times on this is a big part of it. They'll just overuse that and just like stick to that. And they said, last but not least, as they go on their own development journey, they keep it tidy.
Okay.
Because you can read a book and you say, oh, I'll do a bit of that as well. Yeah. And then you can learn, oh, yeah, I'll just do a bit of that. And you can start adding things on. And what he says is that makes you less followable.
Okay. So do you think that, because that sounds to me like the person you're describing, this leader, is just going to exude authenticity. And I can either buy in or buy out. And what I'm seeing is what I'm getting. You know, that sounds to me...
I love your summary.
They're going to be so authentic, aren't they?
I believe you. Everything that comes out of your mouth is hitting here. So I believe what you're saying, actually. So that is what I'm saying, what you just said.
Okay, well...
It's a beautiful summary.
Well, I haven't heard your intro to it as well, so that's very good. I like the positive energy exchange. And I think authenticity comes with vulnerability, because you are saying this is...
I mean, it's classic. It's well versed that. I mean, you read the books, vulnerability-based leadership, the whole lot.
Yeah. Yeah, and Brené Brown is, you know, a great speaker. Everyone should watch that little Netflix. I think it's 20 minutes, half an hour.
Where are you on this then? You can't be on the road to courage and on the road to comfort at the same time, Brené Brown's type thing.
Yeah. Well, so I think that's true. And growth of anything, I mean, I use the analogy of a muscle.
Yeah.
If I go to the gym and I try and bicep curl 100 kilos, nothing's happening. If I lift 100 grams, nothing's happening. You've got to find that little stress point.
You're right.
And if you just find your stress point, which is unique to you, you just push a little bit there.
You know, sports have got it right on that point, and they've had this well documented on research and literature for many decades called progressive overload.
Yes, exactly.
And they've nailed it.
Yeah, they have.
It's like stress the system at the right balance point.
Yeah.
Then recover.
Yeah.
They say that the next thing after that is you must recover.
Yeah.
If you go to the gym and then you go and running down the road and then you're going out for a meal and then you're going over there and then you're not recovering.
No.
And then the third thing is adaptation. And once it adapts, and it can't adapt without the recovery.
Push it again.
Then push it again.
Yeah.
Probably a little bit more. Progressive overload.
Yeah.
And the same can happen. You can take that concept, because it's just a concept.
Yeah.
And you can apply it into personal development in business.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, you can.
As a leader.
Absolutely. And as a leader, and I think everyone leads, and everyone also is looking for a leader. So you know, I lead my department at work, but then there's people I look to lead me in other areas. So I look to Kirk Miller for my personal training, and he leads me on that. And so when you become led, it doesn't mean you're not leading your own path in your own way. Beautiful.
Here's the quick fire questions.
Okay,
you ready?
Yeah, I think so.
What's your favourite book?
That is a brilliant question. If I had to recommend a book to anyone, do people ask for two?
You can have two if you want.
Okay, I would go Man's Search for Meaning, Viktor Frankl, and The Happiness Hypothesis by Jonathan Haidt.
Oh, very nice. And the favourite movie?
Without any doubt, Shawshank Redemption.
I'm with you on the Shawshank Redemption. So I've asked someone else, and they've said the Shawshank Redemption. Why?
That moment at the end, when there's no words, and Morgan Freeman is walking along the beach, and his friend sees him, and the camera's pulling out. You can't even see what they're doing, and these guys just embrace.
That was the second moment.
Oh,
the first moment is when you see that hole in the wall, and then the second moment on the beach.
Yeah, well, that's satisfaction, isn't it?
Oh, you see the hole in the wall. My God!
Absolutely, but yeah,
there we go.
I love it.
Favorite music, Hendrix?
Listen to a lot of Hendrix, certainly. Type of music, I'm pretty classical, mate. Pretty classical.
Calmness.
Yeah, and genius. Like in 400 years, will we be listening to what's in the charts today? No, but I guarantee Mozart will still be everywhere.
Absolutely.
Beethoven's 7th Symphony, listen to it now. Just kill me. Just wonderful.
If you could have one superpower, what would it be?
Flight.
Superman or Iron Man?
Superman. 100% Superman. No suit.
Or Batman.
Just gun it. Yeah.
Favorite holiday destination?
Dubai.
Oh.
Dubai. And I was a cynic about Dubai, and my business partner, Rahil Malik, would go there a lot, and he said, just try it once. And I went once, and it was wonderful.
Early bird or night owl?
Very early bird.
How very?
Well, you're talking about chronotypes here, and this is scientific. There are 5 chronotypes. You can measure which chronotype you are.
I don't even know what you're talking about. Go on.
So everyone has a rhythm of when you're at your best, and it is based biologically. This is biologically proven on your super chiasmatic nucleus, your chronotype.
Super charismatic nucleus.
Super chiasmatic.
I really wanted it to be called charismatic.
Yeah, it would be better. It would be better. But anyway, there are 5 chronotypes, and you've got extreme early birds, like morning larks, people in the middle, night owls, and extreme night owls. And I am an extreme morning lark.
I'm with you.
Yeah,
I'm extreme on that. All right. So, if you could have one day in someone else's life, history or future person, who would you choose?
I would love to be in that conversation with Amos Tversky. So I would go back to the early 90s and perhaps walk behind Daniel Kahneman and Amos Tversky.
Have you met Daniel Kahneman?
No.
Have you been to see him speak?
I have been to see him speak, and I've read everything he's written. And even if he's repeating a podcast lecture I've heard before, I listen to it.
No, I'm sure you could orchestrate a meeting with him at some point anyway.
Well,
I'm sure. Who have been the 3 biggest trusted advisors in your life?
Without any doubt, my business partner.
Yeah.
Who?
Why?
Do you know he's one of the 5? In real life, and
he's the 5th.
Well, do you know? No, I'll get rid of all the others and have him.
Okay.
I would. Because if you've got those 5 people and they are positive in your life, and this is luck. This is just luck. We met, and we have very similar values. We have very similar drives. He's the brother I was never given, and I'd take a bullet for him, and I know he would for me. So for that's got to be one.
Who else?
Biggest influences would be a surgeon I met when I first started surgery. I was a very junior member of staff in the hospital, and I just remember seeing one surgeon turn up, and he was irreverent and wouldn't accept low standards for patients and didn't mind calling people out, and he made a lot of enemies. But if you ask those enemies, your loved one has got a cancer, who do you want to fix it? They'd all go to him. And that mastery, so his name is Nick Hyde, and he's inspirational. Other people, do you know, right now, currently in my life, I'm very close with Kirk Miller. And we're on it.
Yeah, and he's a genuine guy as well. He speaks from the heart. His integrity is amazing. You can see he's got pure values.
Yeah, definitely. And I think there's a sense of belief that I reckon if I called Kirk and said, Kirk, I need help, he would help me. Yeah.
If the listeners could apply one thing from today, what would it be?
It would be, don't be afraid of taking that inward look. Get help if you need it, but take the inward look. See how the texture of your own mind manifests in everything you do and everything you say, and realize that is the biggest determinant in your life. You can't control everything in life, but you can control a lot, and it starts there. Take that inward look.
Do you know what? I'm struggling to find a favourite part of this discussion today, because I feel like I've been sat with one of the wisest people on the planet in their area. I mean, but you're speaking compassionately and warmly about a subject that you wholeheartedly believe in, and I think it's that bit that's my favourite bit.
Jeremy, I've been lucky with meeting people in my life, and this is going to sound macabre. I've been lucky to see people towards the end of their life, and that, I know that sounds an awful thing to say, but you can speak to them, and you can find out what's important when nothing else is important. When you're near the end, and nothing else matters, and what's on TV tonight is irrelevant, and what you're going to have for dinner next week is irrelevant, and you can see what really matters, and it gives you such clarity, and that means that we can't buy that second, and so life is for living. And you can live it best with those connections with other people.
Do you know what? Those moments that you've just described, in my opinion, they connect you on a spiritual plane.
Yeah, I agree.
On your own spiritual plane.
Yeah.
And actually that, in my opinion, again, is a huge thing for me on emotional intelligence.
Yeah. I think you're right. And that spirituality is, perhaps emotional health. And that builds into one of the key 5 pillars of what it means to be alive, to be healthy.
What's been your favourite part of today?
I have loved, I was so curious about what this was going to be like. I'm always impressed by ability, and it's a skill to interview people, and you have that skill. So experiencing your questions, the way you interview, is just being in that moment. And I always think, if this is the last glass of water I ever have, the water tastes that much sweeter. So you have a conversation with a relative stranger, and I get to watch your skill, and I love watching skill. It's just an amazing thing.
Richard Porter, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well, we've got a burning question first.
Okay.
Are you the Stig?
No, I'm not. Have you asked that question to previous people?
I've definitely not asked that question to previous people.
I'm not the Stig. I drive too fast, and I've just done a speed awareness course, but I'm not the Stig.
Well, you've got to, if you've just done the speed awareness course, it means that you've been well behaved for the last 4 or 5 years anyway.
Yes, that's true. Although I think I may have found a loophole, but I think they offered me a customer loyalty card.